Hello and welcome to the fifth and final episode of our SBK Cheltenham Festival mini podcast series. It's been some week. I'm Tom Collins. This is Ross Millar. Friday ended with a bang, with Galopin taking the Gold Cup for the second consecutive year. Willie Mullins again, Paul Townend again. What a horse he is, Galopin just pushed clear up the hill and won to the cheer of the rapturous crowd. It was a fantastic race. He cruised around as well. He was a lot closer to the speed than he was 12 months ago. That made no difference whatsoever. Ross, what did you make of the festival feature on Friday?
It was great to see, wasn't it? And it was the festival feature, which it sometimes isn't, in terms of quality. I thought it was just an absolutely mesmerising performance. I mean, to do it so differently this year, on the pace the whole way, jumped brilliantly. I don't remember him really missing a fence significantly. And then the jump at the second last is just, it was almost shades of the Turners, wasn't it? He went so high up in the air, you're thinking, please get the landing gear out. And he did. And like you say, you feel that there was plenty left in the tank. If something had come to his girth, there was a bit more to go again. He is just simply an absolutely phenomenal stone chaser. Certainly the best since Corto Star. And, I love his way of doing things. He's just an absolute superstar to watch. Very well supported on heavy ground. He's got everything. He can potentially win another Gold Cup. Could we dream? He's 8 years old. Could he win 4? He's just a super horse.
Yeah, he really is. He's the first horse to win back-to-back Gold Cups since Album Photo. And when a horse wins back-to-back Gold Cups, you're heralded as one of the best ever. Album Photo maybe not in that category, which is weird considering he did win back-to-back, but he didn't race too often, whereas Galopin seems to turn up at the big festivals every year and romp home in all the big races. Jerry Colombe finished a very good second. Claret Rambler, a brilliant third, and he's been shortened in the Grand National market as a result. L'Homme Pressé in fourth. What did you make of those three, Ross?
Claret Rambler, delighted with what he did. I'd be a bit worried about him for the Grand National OTC. I thought he went out on his sword. He looked a very tired horse crossing the line. Of course, like us, they can recover at different rates, and I'm sure his team knew what they were doing in terms of having it as a prep into the Grand National. Jerry Colombe surprised me. I was surprised he was able to travel through the Gold Cup, and his jumping held up really well. So you have to say that is by a long way a career best. And then L'Homme Pressé turned his form around from the start of the year. I was concerned whether he'd be able to hold a position, and he did very comfortably. I think ultimately he just didn't stay the trip on that ground, but still a huge race from a horse that's been away from the limelight, with injuries. That team have done a really good job to get him back to be able to run to that level on just his third start of the season.
Yeah, definitely. We should say the Claret Rambler, I think, is 7-1, 6-1 in places, but 7-1 with SBK right now for the Grand National. Short enough price for the main race. Obviously, he won it last year. He's got around a month, just short of a month to recover. Hopefully, we see the Claret Rambler that we saw 12 months ago in the Grand National. But as Ross has said there, it was a pretty taxing race today on deep ground. So he will have to recover it and get over this before he goes to Aintree. Another couple of horses that finished in the race, a Brave Man's Game, who just doesn't seem to have it for me at Cheltenham. Maybe the ground was against him as well. Harry Cobden said he might want cheap pieces moving forward. And Jungle Boogie, who was the subject of a lot of late money. He was actually fourth favourite for a period of time prior to the off. He tugged around with Rachel on board and just didn't finish off his race well.
Yeah, absolutely. He had entries in all sorts of races. He was actually on my shortlist for the Ultima. I would have been pretty disappointed if he'd gone and won the Gold Cup, having put him up for the Ultima. Maybe dropping back in trip might be the key for him, given how free he went. He might be a horse if they can keep him sound, and that is an if, because he's been very fragile. I think, what was this, just his fifth or sixth start? Might be one for the Ryanair next year, possibly.
Yeah, 6 start as a 10-year-old. He's not run very often, but he seems to have a huge engine. Okay, let's move on to a couple of the undercard races. We'll talk about the Triumph first. We probably saw a couple of nice horses, at least two. Masborough won for Willie Mullins and JP McManus. Huge horse running in the Triumph. Usually you don't see the big horses win the Triumph, but Masborough defied logic. He was a big drifter prior to the race, went off at 6-1. After being the favourite this morning, he outstayed Cargis, who's got lots of natural speed. What do you make of the race, and do you think both of these horses are worth following?
Yeah, I think the winner is going to be a monstrous horse. I went against him purely because I didn't think he looked furnished for a race of this nature. He looked very weak, particularly in his neck and his top line. It's where they get their strength from. So he has done that, in my mind, on raw ability alone. It was a huge performance. Cargis travelled really well, didn't she? And perhaps over-travelled, didn't quite get home. She'd be one. I wonder if he'll follow the Lossy Mouth prep and go sort of give her a plenty of time now, and then maybe target the Unibet International Hurdle on trials day. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see her until then. Whether she's got the stamina Lossiemouth has, I'm not quite so sure. But then Lossiemouth was pretty keen last year. A year on their back can help them settle down, but she would need to relax more to be a player for the Mares Hurdle next year over 2 mile 4, in my opinion.
I think the Triumph is going to work out really well. I like Nürburgring's performance as well. He shapes like he's going to definitely improve for a step up in trip. And I think Ethical Diamond, I know I keep hammering this same drum, but he's going to improve for better ground. He travelled very nicely for a long way. He's not the best of jumpers, but I think maybe if they switch him back to the flat this summer, Ethical Diamond could win a big pot. This isn't part of the running order, Ross, but I do want to touch on the Hunter Chase because yet again, you have come down with the winner, Seen Nominee. I am gutted. I have to say, I wanted it on the line to win for Derek O'Connor for personal reasons, but you selected the winner at a big price again. You just keep on doing it, don't you?
I do like this race because I sort of grew up around point to pointing, and for a brief moment in my time, I sort of had dreams of winning the Foxhunters at Cheltenham myself before I realised that my height and lack of ability was going to make that not a possibility. So it's a race I always take a good interest in. Thought it was a really good ride, and I'm always pleased to see this Amateurs Gold Cup go to genuine amateurs, which the trainer and jockey undeniably are.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that angle. It was a thrilling finish as well. Not the only thrilling finish on Friday. We had plenty of them. Okay, from Friday highlights to festival highlights and talking points. Firstly, I want to know your best performance of the week, and that's from a talent perspective, and your favourite result of the week from either a personal level or the story behind the horse.
I don't want to repeat it, TC. It probably doesn't make for great listening, but I think you would have to look at Galopin Des Champs as the standout performance. I thought that the festival this week was quite slow to catch. Tuesday, Wednesday weren't that exciting. And I say that, I'm a bit conflicted. From a punting perspective, I don't remember having a festival as good as this for a very long time, but it didn't draw me in. If you think last year we had Honeysuckle winning and Constitution Hill putting in that performance on the Tuesday, it just sort of lit the blue touch paper and it was a brilliant week. It's taken longer to get going this week. I've been frustrated at seeing the sort of people that crow about the fact that Nicky Henderson sort of didn't have any runners. To me, that's a little bit like celebrating the fact that Brazil's aeroplane didn't have fuel in it on the runway and they couldn't get to the World Cup. It's just a lesser contest because of it. Dan Skelton definitely stepped up. Ben Pauling definitely stepped up. But for me, Galopin Des Champs just was monstrous today. I can't wait to watch it back and watch it back again. I think it was just a performance for the ages. And then personally, for me, it was Chianti Classico. It's nice when you gravitate towards a horse, and I gravitated towards him at Wincanton last year over hurdles. Was really suiting him for the Albert Bartlett. Ran no sort of race. Was excited to see him over fences, and just from about the third fence at Chepstow, I just knew that this was going to be a horse that drew me in. I love how he danced in front of his fences. He's really nimble. Fancied him for the Ultima, and it's nice when you see one from a long way out and it actually comes off. And of course, there's a good degree of luck in that. It's very easy to say, well, yeah, of course I knew. I hoped. I didn't know, but it's nice when they come off like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't say I'm the best of anti-post punters. Actually, I'm probably one of the worst in this industry. I generally don't touch the anti-post markets, and when I do, they're not overly successful. Albeit I tend to beat the price, and the horses run terribly. Factor File, therefore, has to be my personal favourite result of the week because I liked him as a novice chaser this year, and he went and won the Turners nicely. Best performance of the week. I'm going to go a little bit left field. Obviously, you've got Ballyburn, super impressive on Tuesday. Gaelic Warrior. Well, I wasn't expecting it. You were, but he was very impressive as well. You've mentioned Galopin Des Champs. I think maybe I know the way you're thinking, and the Kim Muir was the best performance. Now, I know he was chucked in and facing inferior horses. We know that now in hindsight. But this horse jumped the first fence terribly. He was so slow, super high in the air. He did that again on a couple of other fences, yet still won in the manner of a really nice type. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's a grade one horse in the making. I know the way you're thinking. Ross, this festival is not all about winners, though. It's about finding horses that are going to win in the future. Name me at least one, maybe you've got two, but at least one horse that's going straight into your tracker.
Hopefully there'll be plenty TC next week, maybe on the Tuesday pod, but just two that jump out straight away. The Jukebox Man, who was quite a painful result today, to get chinned on the line, the Albert Bartlett, but given a really good ride by Keelan Woods. And the only hurdle he missed was the last, and that cost him. Keelan Woods actually said that when you rise him over a hurdle, he can spot a stride 10 strides out, and he's a really good jumper. I think he's going to make into an exciting novice chaser next year, particularly through the depths of the winter, because he clearly handles testing ground well. So he's an exciting one. And then right back on the very first race of the day, Favour and Fortune didn't jump a hurdle. and yet still put in a huge shift coming down the hill, and ultimately paid for having to put in such a big shift and slightly weakened out of it. He's been forced to race pretty much all season on ground he doesn't like. He's a much better horse on a sounder surface. I think he might go chasing next year. I'd be excited to see what he could do over 2 miles. I think he might be a lively sort of horse on that sort of ground. And for all that he didn't jump well, I think it's because he doesn't actually respect his hurdles. Maybe a fence just looking at what he's doing and jump a bit better.
Yeah, get your trackers out now. You've heard from Ross already of the two horses, Favourite and Fortune, and the Jukebox Man. I'm going to add two in there as well. The Yellow Clay finished sixth in the champion bumper. Look, I don't think he was majorly eye-catching, but I do really like him for the Gallagher Novices Hurdle next year. And because he finished sixth, his price didn't change. He's still 33 to 1. I think that's a good bet. And that looks to me like it's going to be his ideal target. The other one was a major eye catcher, and that was Pop Over. He finished eighth in the Potemps final for Henry de Bromhead and Rachel Blackmore. Just tugged her way through the race, ridden super cold, way out the back of the field. It's tough to win the Potemps from virtually last. Moved into the race well, going down to the last. She weakened in the latter stages, but she had to sustain such a long run from a long way out. I think you can mark up a performance, and she probably didn't stay the 3 miles. When Henry cuts her back to 2.5 or 2 miles 6, Pop Over will reward connections. Okay, two quick fire questions for you, Ross. As a proper diehard jumps fan, firstly, what did you enjoy most this week? And secondly, what do you think needs to change with the festival moving forward?
What did I enjoy? I enjoyed the Thursday and the Brits fighting back. I wouldn't be a Dan Skelton fanboy, but you have to, and we'll leave Langadan out of it because that I think was a little bit whiffy. But the way he's campaigned his horses through to peak at the festival, you have to say, was really impressive. Pretty unlucky again today with Low de Sud. So I liked how we sort of were able to claw it back. And I'm a fan of Willie Mullins. Yes, it is becoming in danger of becoming a little bit boring, but we do have to remember this has been built over many, many, many years. He's clearly an absolutely exceptional talent when it comes to managing horses and directing them towards the correct races. So I enjoy watching him and I enjoy listening to him talk. He's very considered in what he says, doesn't just throw out lines for the sake of it. So those were the highlights for me. What do we change? Well, I mean, Kevin Blake put up a really good piece this morning. I think it's very hard to disagree with any of the suggestions he made. He echoes something I've been saying for a long time, which is to make the cross-country chase a handicap, because we didn't have it this year and no one missed it because it's like a Gold Cup consolation for veterans. Turn it back into a handicap. I think that makes it more exciting. And I just wonder whether we could do something where you have to nail your colours to a mast for a race 10 days out, maybe a 10-day declaration stage that you say, I'm going for the 2 mile novice or I'm going for the 2.5 mile novice. I think that would perhaps help create a little bit more buzz leading into it rather than us all trying to second guess where these horses are going.
Yeah, superb answer. I have to say, I echo all of those thoughts, especially the Willie Mullins thing, because I saw on social media today, lots of people were saying, oh, Willie Mullins has won another race. I said it ironically in a tweet on the first race, oh, look, this Willie Mullins guy's good. But the thing is, he is just good. I know he's got the best horses, but to get them to the festival, firing on all cylinders, there's no surprise that these owners are sending their horses to Willie. He can do it. He did it time and time again, and we need to praise him for that. Okay, one more question. Which race are you most looking forward to this time next year? Now, I don't like this question personally because there is no way I'm actually burying my head into the form and looking at the races. I know I've just put up a horse anti-post in the Gallagher, but that's not looking at any other horse that's going to go there. Champion Hurdle, Gold Cup, and Novice Chase potentially. Is anything catching your eye 12 months out from next year's Cheltenham Festival?
I mean, the Champion Hurdle will be exciting, won't it? Not for State Man. I don't think Cheltenham's his track, but Lossiemouth coming in to perhaps serve it up to Constitution Hill is perhaps a different, well, not perhaps, it is a different form line. We know that Constitution Hill can beat State Man. Let's hope Nicky Henderson can get them rolling next year. And again, it's boring, but the Gold Cup, the chance to see a horse win 3 Gold Cups, and it'll be a Gold Cup with depth because we're going to have Factor File coming in, maybe Corbett's Cross, maybe I know the way you're thinking. I mean, this Gold Cup was brilliant. There's a chance that next year's Gold Cup could be better still because there's very few off the top of my head that ran in this Gold Cup that are going to be sort of over the hill and past it next year. So maybe we can have a 20-runner Gold Cup with just, 3 to 1 the field and 16 to 1 the biggest outsider. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Forever hopeful, Ross. Forever hopeful. Okay, let's get a brief word now about tomorrow's races, Saturday's events. Look, because the Cheltenham Festival's over, that doesn't mean racing stops. We go again tomorrow, and it's the Midlands National. is the highlight of the day. That's at Uttoxeter. Heavy ground again there, so beware. You need a horse that definitely stays. There's also jumps racing at Newcastle and Kempton, all weather and Irish action too. Can you give me your Saturday Napa next best, please?
Yeah, I've looked at the Midlands National. It's a race I like, and it gave me a headache, so I quickly scrolled away. But my nap does come at Uttoxeter in the 2:25, and it's Lord Snooty for Christian Williams. He was really unlucky on his last start at Haydock behind Cuthbert Dibble. He got hampered turning in, had to snatch up on heavy ground. That's very difficult to get going again. He was only beaten about 3 lengths by Cuthbert Dibble then. Cuthbert Dibble ran really well off the £6 higher mark in the per temps final. Lord Snooty's only up £3. He's going to love this ground. Christian Williams, after a really slow start to the season, is hitting form. He's on to 25%. Had a winner today. Had a winner on Monday. So I think his horse are hitting a bit of form. So Lord Snooty in the 2:25 is the nap. Then my next best TC is a little bit up in the air. The ground at Kempton is described as good to soft. If it stays that way, I'd be against my old favourite Titan Discovery in the 2:10. Really smart horse, still well handicapped, but I don't think he's going to want lively ground round Kempton. And I would side with Katira, who was a horse I loved last year. She was really progressive. She finished second in the Mersey novices at Aintree behind Irish Point, beaten just 3 lengths. Quite quiet on a return at Wetherby, but I'd always forgive a mare and a quiet sort of run at that time of year. And then they took her to this track and tried her over 3 miles, and they rode her to try and get the trip, and she just never really got into it and just got too far behind a horse called Colicchio, who's a really good stayer over that sort of trip. Never got back into it. Hasn't been seen since, so maybe something was amiss. Returns here. This might just be a prep into something at Aintree because Harry Skelton is on their other runner and Nico de Boinville is on her. But if it is a prep, Nico de Boinville I thought was quite a strange ride if you're just going to try and give one a sort of hack round. There's plenty of other jockeys that would be better suited to that. So I'm hopeful it's just Harry's chosen the one he fancies more. I think she can win this and then go on to Aintree. So Katira is the next best in the 2:10, unless the ground goes soft. It's not meant to. If it does, I'll be jumping ship to Titan Discovery.
Yeah, I think Nico is deserving of a winner right now after the week he's had. Lord Snooty currently 4-1, Katira 17-2, so they're pretty big prices or fair prices for Ross's selections. My nap is slightly shorter, around 6-4, and that is Young Jack in the 1:27 at Newcastle for trainer Chris Grant and jockey Danny McMenamin. He was an extremely impressive point-to-point winner back in May. It wasn't much of a point. I've gone through the form of the other horses, and it doesn't scream this horse is going to be super, but he was very impressive in doing so. Made his rules debut just around Christmas time. He was coming to win the race. Chris Grant doesn't get too many first-time starters winning. He was coming to win at second last, lost his back end in the hurdle, completely shifted the momentum of the race, and he did very well to actually rally and stay second at the line. Made amends last time up in emphatic fashion. I think he'll follow up at a relatively short price. And my next best is better value, and that is Monvielle in the 150 at Uttoxeter for trainer Harry Derham. Derham's just flying at the moment. I mean, he started his training career last year. He's got a 25% strike rate in his career so far. His number one asset is pinpointing the ideal races for his horses. And I think he's done it here with Monvielle. Heavy ground is definitely suitable for him. I much prefer the underfoot conditions that he's going to get tomorrow than he had last time when it was good to soft. Yet he still ran very well for 8. This is a horse who was highly regarded early in his career for Philip Hobbs and Johnson White. And hopefully he can capitalise off what looks like an attractive mark because he's around 8-1. And I really think that's good value. Okay, hopefully we can add a couple more winners to our tally this week. It's been a long week, but a relatively successful one too. Remember, all new SBK customers will get £30 in free bets when you sign up and place your first £10 bet. I hope you've enjoyed these daily podcasts. There's been 5 of them. We've got some great receptions and some great comments underneath on YouTube. So thank you for that. Again, if you have enjoyed this, please whack a like, subscribe as well, so you don't miss out on any of our content. We'll be back next Thursday as we do our standard podcast, looking ahead to next Saturday's action. Guess what's next Saturday? It's the Lincoln. Are you looking forward to it, Ross?
Can't wait to see it. It's on my calendar, circled in red. I've been ticking down the days.
Yeah, I actually cannot wait. There's no irony in what I'm saying here. I'm buzzing for the flat turf season. Curragh starts that off actually on Monday, albeit the ground is currently waterlogged. So if you're looking forward to the flat season, we'll see you again next Thursday. Until then, best of luck with all of your bets.